Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Luis from Map My Customers. And Sid Hall, yes, we are here and you're at the right place. Please give us here a few more moments just to finish getting ready for y'all, and we'll get started. All right, we'll give people here a couple of more moments and we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Luis. I'm the Director of Customer Experience over at Map My Customers. Happy to be on today's webinar and leading it, explaining to you all how groups as a core Map My Customers feature works and how it can be valuable to you all. So to give you a brief outline of why we're talking about groups today. With groups, it's a very powerful concept in Map My Customers that lets you really nail down like different micro targets and segments of customers and prospects that you want to visualize and really see on your map. So when we're looking at today's webinar, what we're going to go over is some really foundational items of how to create groups from scratch within the web app, the mobile app, how to actually use grouping as a filtering mechanism and key, really tool for you on a daily basis with a couple of different use cases. And then at the very end, we're going to go over how to set up groups within an Excel sheet. So whenever you're getting your Map My Customers account set up, there is the opportunity to actually create groups from your Excel sheet that has all of your customers, your prospects, and be able to choose how you want to set these things up. So we'll cover multiple parts of today's webinar. We'll make sure that we take things step by step. We'll address questions at the very end, but if you guys have questions as you're going through it, please feel free to go ahead and jump in and ask the questions. That way, if there's anything that I feel like maybe you reminded me of that I'm missing, I can make sure that I'm including it as I'm talking through the different features and how to work within groups. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started and go directly into the web app. So now you should all be able to see my Map My Customers account. This is the specific demo account that we go through and have gone through in a couple of these different webinars to really show you all what it can look like as a day in the life type of scenario of using some of our core features, today's main topic being grouping. So what are the use cases for grouping? What are some of the common use cases? One way that you could look at grouping is saying that you want to be able to filter your map out based on specific criteria in the custom fields. So grouping is a great way to pick a custom field and say like, hey, I want to filter by, let's call it industry, right? Say it's a custom field that you have in your Map My Customers account or your Excel sheet. You can convert industry as an idea or a concept on the Excel sheet into groups in Map My Customers, which then lets you be able to filter by each one of those industries in the system. And then you can start tackling on different layers. So you say you pick example of industries. Show me all of the prospects in this industry that have revenues greater than this or in this tier. You can start tackling on different layers and really allow you to kind of micro targets the more relevant prospects or accounts that you want to be targeting and going after. So in concept, it's a really, really, really good way to continue to nail down through the clutter and large, large amount of data that you may have into something that you actually want to see and access for yourself. Another use for grouping within Map My Customers is actually how if you are working with a team or you're a team manager or admin, grouping is the vehicle by which you grant your team members access to their relevant customer list, prospects list, their own segments of data. So it's imagine on an Excel sheet or in the CRM that you use, you have a field or a column that says the name of the salesperson, who owns this account, who owns this business. You'll take that section and convert it into a group, because then once you're in the team management page, the way by which you give somebody access to their list of accounts is by grouping. So we'll go over both use cases in a little bit, but I wanted to make sure we set some of the foundation to understand why grouping ends up being something that's really, really helpful. So now going into it, we're going to show you exactly where you can start accessing groups from the web application. We're going to assume that you haven't actually set up any groups via an Excel sheet. You're just jumping in right here on the web app and setting up groups for the first time, as if, imagine you were just visiting Map My Customers for the first time and you set up your account. We'll go to where it says Plan, Groups, and here you'll see we have groups for companies, for people, and for deals. A lot of the customers we work with really operate at the company level, and they want to see different businesses segmented in the way that is really relevant to them. So we're going to focus more so on the company. When we look at company groups, you'll see that we have many, many company groups set up here. We're not going to worry about any of this right now. What I'm actually going to do is show you all how we can set up groups from scratch, right? Imagine this is all blank. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click this section here that says Add Group. From here, we're going to give this a specific name. So one common example, one really, really common use case for grouping is to label things, cold, warm, hot type of scenario, right? Think about it from a prospecting standpoint. Who are your hot prospects? If you mainly work with existing customers and are an account manager working with larger deals and people that are buying frequently, you might think about it from a tier A, tier B, tier C, priority 1, 2, 3 kind of concept. So from here, we're going to go ahead and make this the group called hot prospects. And now we're going to go ahead and save it. And as you can see, when we created that, you can see the hot prospects right here. This is now the name of the group. And now that we've created this group in the web application, we can go ahead now and start targeting different accounts that you want to add to hot prospect. Which companies would you consider to be hot prospects? So the question comes to be, how do we actually put companies into the group hot prospects? To do that, we're going to go and jump over and look at it from 3 different angles. One angle is to do it one company at a time. Another angle is to do it by in mass targeting specific geographic regions. And then the last way to do it is by looking at a specific list and then selecting companies from a list to put into this hot prospects group. So we will go to records. Actually, we will go to maps. Look at companies map and see the different companies we already have laid out here. Looking at a beautiful map across the entire country, let's say that I want to target this specific company in West Virginia. Fort Rock General Store. I'm now going to pull up the company profile and show you the first way by which we can add this company to groups. I'm going to scroll down. You can see the general information here. When you scroll down to the middle section, there is a section called groups. And it'll tell you here, this customer, this prospect, whoever this may be for you, they don't have any groups. Let's call it a prospect. Let's say this is somebody that I visited. We had a great first initial conversation. They opened up a lot to us in this conversation. They told us the budget. They told us who the right person to talk to is. They're going to introduce us to the decision makers. We align well with their company vision and strategy. So this is a really, really, really hot opportunity or a hot prospect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to target them here and call it into manage groups. And I'm going to search in this section for hot prospects. We know it's a group that we created before, so we can just search it. I'll check off this box. And when I do that, just like that, this pin on the map, this company has now been labeled and defined as a hot prospect. I'll show you how you can really nail down and filter using these groups a little bit later on, but this is one way that you can add different companies on the map into groups. You can click and manage groups, just a little note here, and then choose multiple groups that you want to add this company to. So feel free to, at any given time, to add a company to multiple groups. Just because a company belongs to one group does not mean it cannot belong to others. They can belong to multiple ones, and you can do different layers of filtering later on that lets you target more specific types of customers based on your criteria. So now I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is all saved. This looks good. I'm going to cancel out and go back to my map. Awesome. You now know one way that you can add different companies into a group. Another way that we can do this is by targeting specific segments of the map. Imagine that hot groups customer was something else. Imagine that it was something like all of the West Coast or just West area customers. What you would do then is you will go to our lasso feature here on the right-hand side, click on it, and now with this lasso enabled, you can go ahead and draw a shape around the area of where you want to target, really, and then say like, okay, I've drawn these geographical bounds. Take all of the pins within this encompassed area, and you can do a couple of things with the lasso. Delete them if you want. Always be careful with deleting. Keep in mind, you can't retrieve this after it's been deleted, or edit them. When you click the edit option, you actually see and open up a lot of opportunities for you. This is where you can see that you can take all of the pins in this geographical area and put them into a group or assign a specific color to them. For today's webinar, we're going to focus on the grouping. So we're going to go all the way to the bottom. That's where the most recent group is, called Hot Prospects. And we're going to check this box off. Again, you can check off multiple. But now by drawing this lasso and targeting this area, we've geographically clustered, we've geographically assigned these pins on the map, these prospects, these customers, whatever they may be to you, we put them into this group called Hot Prospects. So one of the questions we often get is, how do I edit all of my companies in mass or a specific segment of companies in mass to put them into a group? This is one way you can do it visually. So this is way two. First one was individually. This now is in mass geographically. And we have another option with a list view where you can do it in mass from a list. So now here we're looking at a list view of all of the different customers or prospects that we have already laid up. And you can see some of these already have groups set up. Hot prospects for Fort Rock is one of them that we just added. Say that there are specific criteria that you want to fill out. Let's look at the filter option here. Say that I want to filter just by all of the prospects, all of the accounts that are in New York. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and filter it by state contains New York. All right, and now here we have 3 different pins right off the bat that meet this criteria that the state has been defined as being New York. So now what I can do is I can click on just one of them, 2 of them, or just click the select all option and select all of the different companies that meet this criteria based on my filter and choose the bulk edit option at the bottom right. Keep it in mind, this shows you how many companies you selected. This select all option on the top left will let you select up to 100 at a time. Each page shows you no more than 100. So now that I've selected these 3, I'm gonna click bulk edit. And now I see hot prospects at the top because we just used this one. We're gonna put all of these companies into hot prospects. And just like that, we've now set up all of these different businesses as a hot prospect. So now we've covered 3 different ways, which is actually a pretty big milestone. 3 different ways by which you can go ahead and assign different companies into groups. Individually, mass via the map, and mass via the list view. So now you've done all this hard work, looking and targeting and organizing your data within Map My Customers. I'm gonna refresh so that everything is really, really fresh, clean, and show you what some of the advantages of using grouping. Now that we've gone ahead and really assign different companies to our groups of the groups we set up, we can do a few things. From this general map view, we can go ahead and apply a filter. There's a section for filters called groups. We're gonna find all of our hot prospects right here. What I'm doing now is I'm telling Map My Customer, show me all the pins that are hot prospects. By doing this, you'll see that the map's gonna refresh, and now rather than seeing everything, seeing more than 40 accounts, we're only seeing 6. And they're the ones that we selected individually, like Fort Rock General Store, the ones we lassoed on the list, account 7, Chipotle, these ones we lassoed on the map, my apologies. And then the ones that we added from the list are actually all here in New York, as you can tell. This is from the ones that we filtered based on state is New York. So now you can see all of these, which is really great. Imagine making your groups of all of your hot prospects. Say you're going out in the field and you're just hunting for the entire day. What would you do? I would go directly into the route section and build a company-based route. I'll go to the map view. I'm gonna apply a filter before I build my route. We'll filter, show me all of the hot prospects. Now the map's gonna load and it's gonna be great. I have all of my hot prospects on the map. These are the ones that I actually want to route to. Anything in Texas, Florida, anything below the top half of the US, I don't really care about. It's not relevant to me. This is the visual of the companies that are most relevant to me, and these are the ones that now I can go ahead and build my route to, add them to my route. This would kick off the route building process. So this is really, really helpful to really nail things down even before you're building a route so that you have the most relevant view of your customers at any given time. Going back now into the groups page we were on, there's a couple of more things I do want to show you all that you can do with this. Looking at then, we went to plan, groups, and the company groups. We're back on the list view of the companies. Now I'm going to show you a couple of the configurations you can do with groups, which can be really, really helpful. You can go ahead and set a cadence for this. So cadences, really what are these? And this could be its own separate webinar, but really, really simply put, cadences are the frequencies or the follow-up cadence that you set by which you as a salesperson or your team should be visiting all of the companies in this group. So say that I want to set up a cadence, assign a cadence. I want this cadence to be that all of the prospects need to be visited every 10 days. Okay. And we'll jump into cadence and what that looks like on the map in a second. It's a really great system that's white or red. Red if the prospects have not been seen within 10 days, and white if they have been seen within 10 days. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. We have the option here on the right for set color. let's say that I want to assign a color for these pins that are all orange. What does set color do? Well, when you actually use the filtering option like we did before, or we click into this arrow to see just the hot prospects, kind of keeping that tunnel vision of what you want to see on your map, you'll see the pin colors will change. And it'll be from, instead of black, it'll be orange. The coloring is actually more useful when you are setting up multiple groups that you want to see on the map. So if we wanted to see hot prospects and priority 26 and priority 25, and they were all 3 different colors, this would be much more helpful on the map because you'd be able to tell, okay, on the map, I see orange, those are hot prospects. Priority 26 are blue, they're low priority, so they're not important to visit. 25 is gray, they're a little more important, so you can visit them. The visual aspect of this can be very, very powerful. You can go into edit name to change the name of the group whenever you want, or just delete the group. One thing to point out, deleting the group does not actually delete the companies in the group or the data. It just deletes the group. That's it. Okay, now that we've gone through this, we're going to go ahead and click on this arrow icon, this right-hand arrow. And you give it a quick moment. And now you see, like I mentioned before, all of the pins on the map are now orange based on the group color that I just assigned to it. And this works specifically because I filtered for this. So now you can see everything here on the map. That's great. And now below, you also have access to a list of all of these different companies that you want to go ahead and visit or that you want to see. And you can click into each one to pull up the account profile of these. So it's a really great way to really, say you have a list of customers or prospects you want to see and look at on the map as you're planning on the website. This is a really good way to work with that. Now, we're going to go taking a step into a more advanced feature that I showed you all before, which is actually cadences. On the top right, because this group already has a cadence assigned to it from before, there's a section that says show cadence colors. I'm going to toggle this on. And this is going to actually change the view of the map. Rather than seeing orange, now you'll be seeing either white and or red. On the bottom right, you'll see a legend. It says overdue or upcoming. So what this tells you is that all of the red pins on the map have not been visited based on this cadence type by this specific user, which is me. All of these pins on the map have not been visited within the assigned time frame of 10 days. We just made these pins on the map. They don't have any activities created for them. So by default, they're all red because you haven't seen them. But say that you do visit one of these, you create an activity, then you'll start seeing the pin go from red to white. The goal is to have as many white pins on the map as possible based on the cadence features. The red is really there to let you know when things are slipping through or when it's time to really follow up and see somebody or visit somebody just geographically. It's a really good strategic planning tool when it comes to identifying which customers, prospects, or deals you need to stay on top of more frequently. As you all know, salespeople are very, very busy. They're out on the road driving around all the time. This is a great way to take a step back at a higher level and identify who should I actually be focusing on seeing based on the last time that I saw them. It's a great automation tool. And this covers really from the website the core visual aspects of grouping. I'm going to jump over to the team management. So for all you Map My Customers admins or managers, first of all, thank you for enabling your field team to use our system. But this is going to be something really, really important. I'm going to go into the manage section here. If you want to grant access to a specific team member to a list of prospects, you're going to click on this section that says give user access to. You can search here for hot prospects and check this off. And just like that, sales rep at mysterysales.org will now have access to all of the companies in the hot prospects group. So they'll have access to 6 specific companies and they'll see them. Now they can start visiting them, logging their activities, planning their routes, etc. So at an admin level, if you do an import of all of the data to the admin account, you'll need to make sure you set up a group for each member of the team or for each criteria that you want to be filtered by, and then really assign it and share it to your team members. Unless you share it and you imported it into your own admin account, they won't have access to it. So it's a really important first step after your data is loaded and set up in Map My Customers. All right, everybody, I'm going to take a brief moment here to switch over to the mobile version of the application to show you all how things work on the mobile app. So bear with me 1 second. Feel free to shoot some questions over so that we can start looking through these and preparing for the end of the session with the Q&A. All right. So now all of you should be able to see my Map My Customers mobile app. It says, "Hi, MMC demo," and the brand new design of Map My Customers. So to get started with grouping and what that can really do for you on the mobile app, we're going to go back to the foundation of just like how do you find groups, how do you make groups, etc. So what we're going to do is going into the map section. All right, so from here you'll see the map as we've always had it. You can get access to all of this right here. What I'm going to point out is that there is a section for groups. Now, when we look at groups, you can see that it brings me back to my current location in New York in the Flatiron District. And now it's going to bring me down to a list of all of the groups I have set up in my Map My Customers account. Say that I want to see just the hot prospects, this group we already made on the website. Really easy. We'll check off the box, and we'll go back to the top of the map now, and we're going to zoom out. What you should see here, let me refresh it as well. Here we go. Here are all the hot prospects on the map. So you can see all of the 6 pins, 1, 2, 3, and another 3 here. So you can see the same visual we saw on the map before on the website, now at the touch of your fingertips. And we can even scroll down and see each account, each company in a list view. You can go ahead and click on it, pull up the company profile where you can add an activity for your sales call, scroll down and go to the address details, so click the car icon to give you the turn-by-turn navigation. As you can see, it takes me to Google Maps. So this is a really great way to leverage the groups that you made on the website on your mobile app. You can access them from here at any time, see how it looks on the map, access the list view, and then same feature as on the web, turn on the cadence map to see who you should be visiting based on whether or not you've seen them within the given 10-day time frame. Alrighty. Now we're going to go back and again, back to one of the core foundations of creating a group and how grouping can be useful. Say that I don't know, you're selling a certain product line, you're out on the road, your manager texts you like, "Hey, I need you to figure out for me which customers are interested in buying this product line, product A." What you could do then is as you're visiting your existing customers or prospects, you can kind of qualify them for this question and ask them like, "Are you interested in buying product A?" Well, if you want to get a quick breakdown of who those product A customers are, what you can do is create this group manually called product A, assign a color to it if you want, and then we can save it and make this group. And now when we look at the product A customers, or go into the edit of the product A group, obviously we have none now, but what you can do is go to where it says manage companies, and then this is a list of all of the companies we have on the Map My Customers account. You can search for specific companies like, say, Chipotle. Let's say Chipotle is interested in product A. Well, I want all of Chipotle's products. And then we'll click done. And just like that, we were able to find a specific company that I already knew wanted product A. So I searched for them, I found them, and I added them to this group. And now I'm going to update this. And as you can see now, it'll say there's one item or one company in this product A group. I can click into it. And you can see that Chipotle, unfortunately for me, is not in New York, but I can see exactly where it is. And this is the Chipotle that's interested in product A. All right. So that is how you can set up some of the groups and start assigning some of the companies to the various groups. So that is one way to do it. Say that you are now going to target another company here on the map. Let's go to Texas and look at account 6. Now you see the entire account profile. If you want to add account 6 into this group called product A, we're going to scroll down all the way to the bottom to where it says groups. We're going to click on records and see that we have the product A group right here. And now we're going to add this company to this group, but I'm going to remove it from priority 19. And just like that, we've now updated this company to where it now is in product A. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to do. Now we have 2 companies in product A. And then you have a couple of more advanced options here. The same way that you could lasso and target things and lasso things geographically on the mobile app, on the web app, you can also do on the mobile app. I could take this entire region and edit the lassoed pins and put them into the group called product A really easily right here. And the same thing would be available on a list view here in records. All right. So now that we've set up these groups, let's go ahead and filter with these groups. We're going to click on these 3 little lines at the very top right. This is our funnel logo. We're going to add a filter. We're going to choose groups. It's one of the default options. Now let's say that I want to visualize all of the product A and the hot prospects. We're going to apply this filter. And now you can see that rather than seeing everything, there are now 7 pins on the map. As we know, there was only 1 in Texas that fit product A, and the rest here are either going to be product A and or a hot prospect. The same concept on the web app. You can do this filtering while routing. So Mike Smeets had a really good question. Are new customers added automatically to a group when a new customer is added? It's a really good question, Mike. New customers are not added automatically to a group. Grouping while you are targeting things, and drawing things geographically here, this is not a permanent fencing system. This is a one-time fencing system based on what you see right now. You can imagine that in some other scenarios, it might be challenging where, say that you want to do a specific filter, like we filtered New York, and then lasso everything in New York and put it into a group. If you start having pins in New Jersey that happen to fall within this shape, you might start having pins in the wrong groups automatically. So for right now, the way we're looking at grouping it, it is a manual system that you have to draw every single time based on what you see on the map. Hopefully that cleared it up. And then looking at my notes here, give me 1 second. What I can do now is real quickly go into the routing feature to show you all how you can build a group or a route based off a group. We'll go to add a new route. Now we have all of the pins on the map again. What I'm going to do before I build this route, I'm going to click on this funnel icon, add a filter. I want to see the group of all of my hot prospects because that's who I want to route to. I'll hit apply in the top right. So we'll give it a second here to load. And now you see just the hot prospects. Let's say that I want to tackle everything from West Virginia to New York. I will go ahead and lasso and build our route based on this lasso. I'll hit next. We do have a webinar on routing, so I won't spend too much time on this. To give this a route name. And now you can see that I specifically made a segment of my hot prospects. I decided just from the map, I'm not going to focus on the West Coast. I'm going to look at just the East. And then I build a route based on this lasso from the accounts, the companies I have in New York, all the way through to the one in West Virginia. And it's taking me to West Virginia and back. So I just from doing this, I not only built the fastest route possible, but I also made it take less time for me to build this route by filtering and nailing down the types of companies I want to see. So rather than taking me a few minutes to maybe even 5 minutes to build this route, it took me only a few seconds because I had my groups already set up. Again, these groups can be used for industries, for labeling things as hot prospects. With a lot of the customers that I work with at the enterprise scale, we focus on their existing business and tiering their business based on revenue. Tier A is 500,000 and up. Tier B is 250 and up, et cetera, et cetera. You can filter to see just tier A and tier B and then build routes just to those. So it really enables a salesperson to target not only as many people as possible or as many businesses as possible with our routing feature, but it really enables you to target the right companies, the right businesses that you should be visiting based on your company's overall goals of making your largest clients as happy as possible, expanding that revenue, growing those accounts. So there is one last section. We are done with the mobile app for grouping. I am going to jump real quickly here back onto my computer and show you all how you can set up groups on an Excel sheet. Fortunately, a lot of you do come to Map My Customers with an Excel export of all of your customers or all of your prospects, which is really, really great. What I'm going to show you on the Excel side of things is just really quickly how to how to format things so that it fits into groups. So bear with me here 1 second, team. All right, now to the less fun part of data. Oh, sorry, the less fun part of selling, data and operations. Very important, but definitely not as fun as selling. So what you're looking at here is a quick sample, actually, of the spreadsheet that I used to set up the demo account that we've been playing with today. So this is a really good thing if you want to take a look back at this webinar and see what a pretty solid format for a template would look like on Excel. This is definitely a good one to start out with. So we have a lot of columns here. That's great. Let's not look at anything from column, A to I. I'm going to hide this. Let's just look at column J, column K, and column L. These are some of the more common types of groups we deal with, some of the more common idea or things that people come to us and they tell us, hey, I am prospecting. I want to be able to focus on things based on industries. I want to focus on, I'm farming. I want to focus on my customers based on how much revenue they're buying from today and who can buy more. Hey, I'm a manager. I need to assign accounts to specific sales reps. So I need to focus on that too. 3 common examples: sales rep, priority level or tiering system, and then industry. And a lot of companies, people that are coming to us today, they have this information filled out. If you don't have it filled out and you want to start filling it out on the Excel sheet, that's perfectly fine. You can take that Excel sheet and then update it and upload it into Map My Customers. But these, as they are right now, the most that they would become in Map My Customers would just be custom fields if you're using the enterprise package. So you would have access to this information to just be able to, click on in the app, pull up the company profile, and then just see the label of priority 1, technology, rep C. But you wouldn't actually be able to filter with this criteria until you start enabling and building groups. So how do you actually build groups? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to expand here and show you how we can build groups. and the formatting required for groups. I'm going to erase some of these. So in the simplest way to explain it, to put things into a group, just create a column called groups, or take your existing column called sales reps. And when you're going through the import process, there's an option on the Map My Customer side that says, choose a group for this. And I'll show you what that looks like. So here, if you want to have a prospect or a customer that's assigned to rep A, you just have in the groups column, rep A, rep B, rep C. Really straightforward. I think this honestly just makes sense. But where it gets a little bit more tricky, admittedly, is when you want to have multiple groups, not just one. When I say multiple groups, it doesn't mean that you'll necessarily have a customer that's in rep A, rep B, and rep C. That can be confusing, and I feel bad for those sales reps. But it's more so looking at things like sales rep, priority level, industry. These are the three categories by which I want to make and have groups created for me. So what you would do then is you would be using a semicolon on the Excel sheet to separate these. Okay, so it would be rep A, semicolon, priority 1, semicolon, technology. And now when you upload this specific row, this row 2 for this customer or this prospect, Map My Customers would know that, okay, rep A, this customer or prospect is assigned to rep A, is a priority 1 customer or prospect, and they are in the technology industry. These three would become groups. One important thing to note about this formatting is that it is case sensitive and it is also space sensitive. So what that means is this is not the same as this. If I could spell that, help. And that this is also not the same as row 2. Here you have 3 different groups compared to up here, and then another 3 different ones compared to up here. It is really, really important as you're working through your grouping system and getting it set up on your Excel sheet that the formatting stays consistent every single time. You have to keep in mind the capitalization. If there's a capital R, make sure the capital R is consistent. If there is no space, make sure the no space idea is consistent. This is the best formatting when it comes to this. And from this, a system will know how to create the groups. All right, so this is really straightforward from the Excel side if you want to do it one by one every single time. Fortunately, there actually is an Excel formula for any of my Excel geeks out there. I personally love it. It's very, very helpful. And the formula that I've been using is the concatenation formula. The concatenation formula, or just concatenate, literally what it does is it tells you put these 3 columns, put the values or what these 3 columns say, put them together. And the way that we're going to write it is that put them together and in the middle put a semicolon for them. So what this looks like, to start Excel formula, we want to start with the equal sign. We're going to spell out, here you can see, it's going to be called concatenate. Concatenate. All right, and it's already a formula here. It appends strings to one another, which means it's just merging all of these 3 together. Or it's adding them all together, appending them. So I'm gonna click here. And now we're gonna tell the system, I want to include rep B as a section, but I also want to include priority 2 and pharmaceuticals. To do that, I'm gonna do J3, comma, a quotation, and now a semicolon, another quotation, comma, K3, comma, quotation, semicolon, quotation, comma, L3. and then close this out by closing the parentheses. And then by pressing return, we've now made a formula that automatically populates this. I know this can seem daunting as well as sound like a complete pain in the butt, but it actually ends up being very helpful because now what I can do is I can just copy and paste this across everything, and it automatically fills this out. So again, the concatenate formula will become your best friend if you're an admin or a manager dealing with a lot of different sales reps, grouping criteria, etc. Concatenate, tell the system which column, which field you want to merge together or append, separate it out with this semicolon that you implement in there by having that quotation mark, the air quotes, and then continue to repeat this process. And for all of you wondering, this webinar will be available after the recording of it, because it is being recorded right now. So if you want to revisit what this formula looks like, you can go ahead and revisit it on the webinar recording. And concatenate is also something that you can search online in Google too. Concatenate Excel. And it'll walk you through how to do it. All right. I do want to pause here and let people ask any sort of questions. Had a couple come in here with some questions, so happy to start out answering those. So a couple of people have reached out, seeing that grouping is a more advanced feature. Definitely is something that we want people to take advantage of, but to understand and leverage grouping, of course, you'll want to know, how do I build some routes? How do I create pins on the map? How do I color code pins on the map? So if you are really looking at it from a beginner level, maybe you just started a free trial, please check out our YouTube page, our support portal as well, with some quick tutorials of how to get started. The YouTube page has our previously recorded webinars, which will be helpful. Our support portal has written out step-by-step instructions on how to get started. Worst case scenario, if you have things where you're stuck or trying to understand better, you can also reach out to our support team. They're available via a quick intercom chat on the bottom right-hand side of your screen if you're on the computer. All right, and we had several questions come up during the webinar, and I'm looking through these right now. It seems like we addressed actually the majority of the questions that had come up earlier. So let me see if I can revisit a couple of the key ones. Can you do this via an Excel sheet? Yep, so we went over how to get your group set up on the Excel sheet. How can it, what are some of the best practices? Best practices, as we talked about it, would be based on industry, a hot versus cold prospect, tiering or prioritizing your accounts based on revenue and different attributes, et cetera. And then the other really important use for grouping is to be able to assign and distribute your different the companies from your Excel sheet or your internal CRM that you're using with Map My Customers to distribute it to your different sales reps out in the field. And additionally, one thing I did not go over, but it is possible, in the reporting feature within Map My Customers, the same way we filtered the map by groups, you can also filter your reports by groups. All right, everybody. I think those are all the questions. Things have slowed down from the question side recently. So please feel free to reach out to our support team with any kind of quick questions. In the next 2 days, so between tomorrow and Monday, we'll get the recording of this webinar. This will be sent out to everybody that is on the call today, as well as people that had signed up to follow up and really understand a couple of the things that we talked about today. And it will be added to our YouTube page with the other webinars that we've set up within Map My Customers. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to all of you, talk via the questions you've asked, really explore how grouping can be helpful for you all. And yeah, hopefully this is very helpful for you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.